Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to a tutorial on hotkeys, control groups, and micromanagement related to Cavalry. I'm going to show you a situation, let's say a hypothetical situation of a feudal skirmish. We're going to focus on this aspect, and I'm very excited to show you these tricks because these tricks I have been using for quite a lot of time, for a long time, and they became deeply engraved in my strategy. Although maybe you are familiar with my videos and you have noticed that I don't use them all the time, but I'm going to be very detailed about it. So this is going to be a detailed guide on how to distribute your units, what kind of tricks you can use to leverage your advantage by using cavalry only. So we're going to use cavalry only for this situation, and I'm also going to explain what kind of hotkeys I use. As you can see, I'm playing against a ridiculous AI, and the reason being is the ridiculous AI will usually bring out a mixed composition of units, which is exactly what we want from them. And I have already started creating some units. So my build is heavy on food right now because I wanted to create as many units as I can until the 7th minute. As you can see, we are at the 7th minute mark, and without further ado, let's hop into it and let's have a look. There is a lot to talk about. And you are already familiar with my horseman rush, so you already know that I assign the horseman to the control 2 group, which is what I'm doing. So now let's make sure we are still putting some villagers onto wood. We're creating some Keshik. We need another Mangudai. And now let's see, what else do we need to do here? Nothing. Okay, let's also get the Steeled Arrow upgrade, which is, I think, a very good upgrade when playing against HRE. Alright, so now we have the Mangudai Khan and the Khan's Hunter, which we're going to assign them to the control 3 group. We're going to remove every unit from the control 1 group, and I'm going to show you why I do this. Let's head forth towards our opponent and see what he is going for. Let's just make sure we don't run out of food here, and I think for now everything is okay. Okay, so control 3 group. Let's also put them on control 1. We just want to check what our opponent is doing. And these guys will be the control 2 group. Let's just roam around with them. As you can see, I've actually assigned the scout to the control 2 group as well. Just because, why not? We're gonna harass our opponent a little bit. Unfortunately, he's going heavy into spearmen, so maybe this trick will not work as intended. But let's see. Also, the AI usually adapts to your strategy, so it will counter these units. So let's head back home. Also, what I wanna say, what's important is that when you see enemies, or when you know that your enemies are approaching your base, you can actually follow them with your Mangudai and with your Keshik unit to get some hits off them, maybe. If you manage to do that properly, that is actually a very good thing. We took some damage here, this is not good. But we want to create a certain situation here. We want a specific scenario for this. So let's try to wait it out a little bit, and until then I'm going to use the control A group, or maybe even control Q. This is a hotkey that I have assigned myself. The control Q is to select all Cav, and this is what we're doing, control Q. And then the scout also goes into the all Cav. So I think the most common way to play, and I would say this is level 1. To select all cavalry units and to just go with them. That's okay, but this is not the most efficient way to use cavalry units. Because as you can see, the Mangudai and the Khan Center, they will go on a bit slower than the rest of the cavalry. So this is also something to keep in mind. And since I have been playing Cav only since the since Age of Empires 4 came out, so I've been playing Cav only since then. I have noticed that there are a few tricks that you can use to amplify or to further improve your play. So as I said, you can select your entire unit and that's kind of it. Sounds good, but it's not the most efficient way to do it. So what I do instead is I'm separating my melee cav from my ranged cav. This is very important. Okay, I just saw that there are some opponents coming towards my base. That's okay. And my eco is not the best right now, so we're making a few mistakes here and there, but that's okay. Also, as you can see, I have brought my deer stones forward, and I'm sure you know why I do this. I'm sure you know why I do this. Just make sure to build a tower in your base to compensate for the YAM network. But as you can see, the reach of the deer stones is pretty high, and you also have the bonus even when you go outside of the deer stones for a bit. So you should leverage this to your advantage. Also, what I'm not very sure about, and maybe you can help me out with this, is sometimes the deer stones gives the bonus even when you leave the YAM network. So yeah, this is something I'm not very sure about. Okay, so we have a big proportion of horsemen here. We have a big proportion of horsemen and not too many Keshiks compared to horsemen, but that's okay. We're gonna stick to this number of units. And now what you can do is you can separate your units from each other, and this is my advice, and this is how you should play it, in my opinion. Because if you choose to go with all these units, the Mangudai will usually get in the back of the of your units. Not all the time, but as you can see, they become very vulnerable to horseman attacks since they are separated like this. So my advice is select your Mangudai and select your melee cav and go with them separately and try to attack like that. And as you can see, there is a difference. And now we can charge in with melee cav. We can attack with the ranged cav, and now we can even retreat. And we can retreat with both units at the same time. So this is one of the strategies that you can employ in order to improve your management of your units. Let's try and see. Okay, so also use Control 1 maybe to select both of these. Let me retreat. And yeah, we're heading back. We're simultaneously moving our Mangudai and our melee cav as a separate unit. And we're retreating, and then we're going back into the fight. Let's retreat our melee cav, and let's just stick with the ranged cav. And we're not taking too much damage here, except I didn't properly click the Mangudai, which you should not do. Also, be mindful of the distance that you use. Okay, let's retreat them and attack. Retreat and attack. This is how you leverage your advantage. And make sure you retreat your melee cav away from the spearmen, but closer to the archers. Okay, let's stop. Let's stop and let's get some reinforcements, right? Let's get some reinforcements and go under the deer stones. Another trick that I can tell you is that you can use your deer stones as a point to rally your cavalry units. So maybe if you overlook them and they get attacked, you can retreat them a little bit, and also they get the speed bonus that we are looking for. So yeah, YAM network, cavalry and traders near an outpost get plus 15 speed for 10 seconds. I'm not very sure if this was before I built the tower, but it very much could be that you only get this one when you build your first tower. Because now, if I see this correctly, yeah, they still have the bonus, right? No. So this is, yeah. Ah, okay. So not when they're leaving. I don't know why I remembered it like that, but okay, let's just stick to this. Okay, so if you are in this situation where you have your army clusters like this, maybe you are attacking or you're doing something, how do you separate them? Well, the best way is to put them like this. And even if you roughly click Control 2, you might not always get all the Mangudai in the same control group, and that's okay. I mean, we don't have to be perfectionistic about it, and actually even going for a horseman is not a bad thing. So if you have a horseman in your ranged cavalry composition, that's also okay. So yeah, don't worry too much about that. And yeah, this is why you want to have your Mangudai separate, because maybe you need to retreat, maybe your opponent is heading towards your base and you need to defend, so it's good to have the Meele Cav out there. And then you can even raid with Mangudai, so you can split them as much as you like. Yeah, unfortunately my opponent didn't give me the best unit composition, so let's try to restart this one, or maybe even load it, because yeah, this is the test save that I have been using for this. So okay, let's be a bit more systematic. Let me be a bit more systematic, because in the heat of the game I kind of mix my ideas, so sorry about that. Sorry if it's not organized. Let's head back to level 1. So level 1 is using the tactics, using the hit and run tactics to put your Mangudai at the tail of your unit. And this is okay, but if horsemen are chasing you or if knights are chasing you, that's not ideal. So you need to have Mangudai and Meele Cav separated from each other if you don't want to use your if you don't want to lose your Mangudai. So let's head back into this. Okay, so we have a small number of units here with which we are going to attack, because this kind of provokes the opponent and it makes him go heavier on units. So we're not going to kill villagers because we actually want him to create quite a few units. We want him to create a lot of units, to be fair. Also, in my opinion, when you are starting out and you are in the 4th, 7th minute, do not go for a second Khan Hunter, in my opinion, or do not waste your stone on a second Khan Hunter, because the Khan Hunter will usually have a bigger distance and a bigger gap. He will be closer to the Khan and he won't be so easy to reach. And unfortunately, the Khan Hunter is just a very weak version of the Mangudai, so it doesn't do much. It's just utility, and we can test it out together if you want. But I advise you not to go for too many Khan Hunters. Look, the damage the Khan Hunter does is very weak. It's very weak. But if we add in the Mangudai, it's a whole different story. You know? So yeah, keep this in mind. That's important. That's important in my opinion. If you prefer to do otherwise, that's okay. Always check if you see the Khan Hunter's icon. If not, then you can create a Khan Hunter. Maybe have 2 or 3. The proportion shouldn't be more than 10% if you are going for a big massive unit. So if you have 20 Mangudai, 2 Khan Hunters should be enough. Okay, what's our opponent doing? Okay, he's going for horsemen, he's going for early man-at-arms. That's pretty nice, because that means we're gonna need some Keshik, and this is the point. Okay, let's also put the deer stones 4th, exactly where we had them. More Keshik and one more Mangudai, and I think that should be it. Okay, so level 1 is selecting all the Cav units and putting them on the same control group without further investment or without further adjustments. That's okay. That's okay. But we're gonna be very vulnerable to that horseman, and as you can see, it's gonna be yeah, it's not gonna be very nice. Look. Okay, let's charge in and then retreat. If they're chasing, they're gonna chase the Mangudai now to the tail, and they might hit the Mangudai. Now, if we take control 2 and use the Keshik and horsemen, that's a whole different story. Control 3, we need to take the Mangudai out. So this is our control 3 group now. This is our control 2 group, and this entire thing is a control 1. So this is level 2. Okay, we don't want to charge the spearman head on. Let's use the Mangudai. Okay, we're trying to move as fast as we can. And now let's try to hit them from the side. We're gonna hit the archers and now run. And now if there's only 1 or 2 spearmen left, that's okay, we can kill them. And also you can select individual Meele Cav units to deal with pesky archers. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Not bad, not bad. If you manage to pull this off, that's really good, and you can even mix between these two strategies. Also, you see, if Meele Cav and Ranged Cav is further apart, they won't get to the tail of each other, so they will be separate units. To add incoming horsemen or Keshik, just press Shift 2. Shift 2 and they will be added to the Control 2 group. Shift 3, they're going to be added to the Control 3 group. So let's meet back in the middle. We could actually just make the blacksmith, why not? We can also just make the Kurultai for the sake of it. And we're gonna wait for our opponent because we can go even deeper. We can go even deeper with this. Okay, these units are now correctly separated, and we have them on separate control groups. Maybe I could have made a scout as well to have so that the Meele Cav also has a better vision, and the scout is actually super awesome because it absorbs town center damage, it absorbs tower damage, and it also heals itself. So usually the scout is the first one to get hit by arrows. So, and for some reason it's actually good, and I suggest you try it. I suggest you try and see what happens if you add the scout in this composition. We're gonna need some extra food here and maybe some extra movement, so we're gonna make the tower. Okay, and let's see what our opponent is doing, because we wanna provoke him a little bit. We're not fighting under the Kurultai because that would be unfair, but we can use it. So we can use it to heal. Oh, unfortunately, the opponent is making only spearmen. So that's not good. We have no Khan's Hunter, that's the problem. But also, if you don't have a Khan's Hunter, don't be too worried about it. I consider that Mongols have been really good even before the patch with the Khan's Hunter, but you need to be a bit how to say, a bit more quick and tight with your micro. So yeah. Okay, let's go. The Mangudai are at the tail, that's bad, we don't want that. That's why we're gonna put our cavalry units forward. Okay, now let's charge, because there's only one spearman. Okay, and let's leave him a bit. Okay, and let's use all Cav units, and let's also heal under the Kurultai. We're going to ignore our villagers here mostly. No upgrades, just the arrow upgrade for the Mangudai. Let's see how quickly these guys heal up. So one thing that I'm not properly doing is I don't wait enough under the Kurultai. So I might teach you some things and you might look back at my videos and say, hey man, what the heck are you talking about? You don't even do half of these things. Well, bro, in the heat of the battle, you see, I'm a bit more agitated and a bit more anxious and a bit more nervous, and that's why the crazy stuff happens, and that's why I don't manage to use all the tactics that I'm talking about. But trust me, they work. Okay. Control 2, control 2. Let's also add this guy to control 2, and the rest control 3. We just need more Mangudai here, that's all. Okay, they're burning down the deer stones. Maybe this is a good moment for a spear archer provocation. Also use the V key. Use the V key to stop your units from moving around. If you don't want them to move around, you can stop them with the V key. Okay. Also, moving all cavalry units like this, you should be using them in separate groups, and you can even switch back and forth from control 2, control 3, control 2, control 3, so that they don't get over each other. And now let's just hit these guys. And now let's retreat our Meele Cav. Let the Mangudai do some damage. And now we don't want the Mangudai to be there. So don't let the Mangudai too close to archers, yeah? And also get on top of the units. Besides, the deer stones are also very important. They actually have a hidden bonus. Maybe you are not aware of it, but the faster your Keshik run, the faster your Keshik are, the faster they run, the sooner they will manage to get on top of running archers that are trying to run away from you. And they will manage to kill them much faster. So in a way or another, it gives you a better damage output. So that's also something to keep in mind. Alright, let's see if we get another scenario from our opponent, and then we're going to go for level 3, which is something that I am still working on, and this is one of my tricks that I'm going to teach you. How you can improve your micro even more, even above this. Such as life, you know. There have been worse fates than this. Okay, so the next level would be using the horsemen. And what I mean by this is, you have noticed that I use horsemen quite a lot. Even when I'm going heavy on melee cavalry, I also add a few horsemen to this. Why? Well, there is something happening here, and that's very interesting. So, considering the fact that the horsemen are faster than the Keshik, this is something we need to take into consideration. And let's assign control 4 on the Keshik, and control 2 on these, control 3, and all of this control 1. So this is maybe an ideal scenario. Let's move here. Yeah, and you need to be able to simultaneously move these two armies and attack with them at the same time. So that's also very important. Now, what I'm trying to get to is that if you want to protect your Keshik, you can charge in with a horseman into, for example, an enemy knight line. So you can charge into enemy knights, retreat your horseman, retreat your Keshik and let the horseman do the trick, and then attack with the Keshik. So why to do this? Why do this? Well, if you do this, then the horsemen will be the ones absorbing the entire damage, mitigating the charge for the Keshik, so the Keshik do not get charged by enemy knights, which is something you actually want to avoid, because then they take a lot of damage, and they are squishier than the normal knights. So yeah. Okay, we're gonna try for one more. Let's see if we have all Mangudai selected. We do. Okay, this is a typical Sparcher. This is a typical Sparcher composition with some man-at-arms mixed in that. Okay, let's meet here. Okay, we're gonna try to put the Mangudai on the right, where the spearmen are, and we're gonna try to put the Keshik on the side where the archers go. Now, let's attack. Okay, I have retreated my Keshik. Oh, this was bad. This was bad, but as you can see, the horsemen were the ones absorbing the damage, and now we can also shift click to go for the archers. That's it. So these are like small adjustments that you can do to improve your cavalry tech. Even in feudal. I built the Kurultai here because I wanted to have them healed, but as you can see, I'm using the deer stones to actually gain advantage. So yeah. Yeah, okay, so let's sum it up. The 3 levels are using your entire cavalry unit without doing anything. Yeah, without doing anything. Maybe just control 1. Next level. We're gonna take the Keshik and the horsemen. Let's just take the Keshik and the Mangudai. Here the Keshik and the horsemen and the Mangudai. They're still the control 1 group, and we're gonna move them individually. Yeah? Very important. We can charge, and we can actually retreat from the charge and let the Mangudai do some damage. Okay. Also, Mangudai are good to shoot across the tree lines, of course. Okay, Landsknecht. Alright, that's okay. And even when you're attacking, you can even separate your units. You can separate your Mangudai from the rest of the Meele Cav and attack individually. And like I said, if you have a few horsemen together with your Mangudai, that's okay. If you have a few Mangudai with your Keshik and horsemen, that's actually ideal. You don't want to be too perfectionistic about it because that makes no sense. It's just that you don't want them to be completely together. You don't want to have them all together. So yeah, that's kind of the trick. That's kind of the trick. And as I said, the way in which you can select is to put them in a line. Control 2, Control 3, Control 1, go like this, go like this. Now you have 2 separate units. If you want to protect your Keshik more, or if you are protective of your Keshik, then assign your Keshik to Control 3 group. Although I like to have a Control 4 group, pardon me, Control 4 group. I like to have a Control 4 group at home, you know, for home defense, or for the units that are currently being produced and rallied to the deer stones, which is a pretty good point of reference, maybe even behind the deer stones. So somewhere where you can easily access them. Okay, yeah, I hope it was useful. Unfortunately, it's not so easy to reproduce a real scenario with the AI, but if you want me to go again through this, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna try to make another video on micro tactics. Hope this was useful, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.